Welcome to the Unclehack Podcast, where dudes pretty much just talk dude shit.
Welcome to another episode of the Unclehack Podcast. Live in studio audience, thank you for your kindness this evening. Isn't that beautiful? What do I got in store for you right now? Has not been released, but I am anticipating it being out this week. November 18th, Rocky Mountain House. Tour dates, that's what we're getting out of the way. Self-promotion. November 20th, Calgary, Alberta for the Danger Room. The date has since been changed from the 13th of November to the 20th due to some repairs that will be taking place on the roof of the Comedy Cave. November 25th, Grand Prairie. December 11th, Edmonton, and recently just added December 17th, heading to Cranbrook, British Columbia. That's right, back to the East Kootenays for a little fun in the sun. All right, let's get in. Great episode today. What are we talking about? Vancouver is Dying documentary. Watched that over the weekend. Went to Kian Simone's documentary over the weekend from Rebel News. He's a editor / videographer with Rebel News, and he had a nice little video about Alberta, that or a documentary about Alberta separatism, which was quite interesting. Went and seen that. Oh boy. And Nova Scotia, another shooter not on the loose. We'll get into this all. Oh, and two wonderful, fucking lovely little fan questions. I love those. I prefer hate mail, but a fan question will do. In fact, two of them this week, since I've sloughed off two. Halloween weekend just passed. And my age is starting to really settle in like how I am as a human being, right? How I react to things. And over the weekend there, I ended up out on Friday night, just waltzing up and down the Party F, right? I was looking for a little bite to eat late night, and those seem to be the areas that have food open late, right? So as I'm gallivanting about looking for a nice little munchkin, and you know what? Call me out on my bullshit. I dare ya. Because, of course I'm lying. I'm walking up and down the streets looking at all the slutty costumes in -4 weather. You know, nothing. There's two things that they say that don't get cold in the winter, or knocking on the door of winter: whores and Halloween costumes. I know. Not good. Not funny. It is certainly, like, I'm starting to notice things about myself now that I would have done when I was younger that I certainly would not do now. You know, I'm looking at lineups outside of some of these bars, and they're like miles long, a fucking mile long, to go to a certain bar on Halloween weekend. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, who am I to sit here and judge these kids that are going to stand in that line? Because that's the hot spot, right? I used to be that guy standing in line, waiting to get into the club. Except where I was doing it was Lethbridge, Alberta. Ooh. Oh, there it is. Somebody said that I was reading the live chat, and somebody said that on the last episode, and they're like, the sound effects are cheesy. That's the point. I'm glad you got that. They're not here to add to the show. It's supposed to take away. It's supposed to make the show worse. And you nailed it, pal. It does make it cheesy. and I enjoy them. It adds a little like jazz to the end of some of the sentences at times. Does it make the show better? No, it doesn't. It's not. Its intentions are not to make the show better. But as I'm out and about and I'm noticing these things about myself, is like now I'm at this weird age again. Here we go. Oh, fucking old philosopher, fucking Pete over here. I'm at that age now where I'm like, it's like middle ground shit, right? Like I'm too old to be in that crowd of like standing in a line that long. You know, I just look weird. I'd look weird as an elder guy, right? In a flock of 22-year-olds. And I'm knocking on the door of 32. 10 years I got these kids. And if I'm standing in a line as long as that, at some point, like, it's got to settle in, like, what are you doing, pal? What's going on here? Just find a lonely pub. You're not there for the setting. You're there for the drinks, right? That's what those kids are there for. And I had to, like, dissect the whole situation of like, because, you know, I was walking by and one group of gentlemen noticed me. Hey, come on in. I'm like, dude, I'm not standing in that fucking line to go into a bar filled with, like, you know, rambunctious 22-year-olds. I'm more in for the alcohol consumption, not the atmosphere. You could put me in the middle of a fucking tsunami downpour in pick the word, like, even a city that ain't gonna get a city town, it don't matter what it is. Worst weather, the bar could like be fucking just disgusting on the inside. Smells like piss, right? Still has carpet from the 60s that soaked up more liquor than a sorority girl at a frat house, you know. There's there's fucking yellow stains on the wall from the cigarette smoke, and that is still it hasn't been washed off since 85, right? Since whenever they banned smoking inside bars. It still has that, like, the remnants of like all the memorabilia that they've collected over the years. It's like cardboard cutouts of Betty Boop. There's like the classic James Dean, Dean Martin, Elvis Presley, and Marilyn Monroe photo of them playing fucking pool. Yeah, that's how you can do that right there. That photo right there always represents a bar that's had good times, right? Now it's fallen onto a bit hard times. Back in the day, that place was the watering hole. Now we're capable of getting to places easier, right? Back in the day, you didn't have to drive 2 hours to have a good time. The good time took place inside your town, and that town knew what place offered the best time available due to the photo hanging on the wall. And that photo is the one that I just explained. James Dean, Dean Martin, Elvis Presley, and Marilyn Monroe was always in like a provocative, like in a provocative position to like, oh, maybe this'll, you know, like the classic fucking, I'll show a little cheek and maybe he'll miss the corner pocket. Maybe he'll slip it into my hot pocket. You know, those are the places that I like hanging my hat. You know, those bars got stories. If the walls could talk, it's probably witnessed more rapes than a prison shower. I'm on fire today. Look at me go. Those are the bars. And then when you start to think about a club setting, right? You start thinking, you almost get in an anxious state being around that many young people. Yeah, especially sober. Come on. Especially a sober being, putting yourself in those shoes. You know, you're thinking about this, and you're like, I don't even have 6 drinks. I can't even make myself look cool as the old guy, and I'm not at the cool old guy fucking years yet to these young people. You know, grandpa ends up in the club on accident, they're like, oh yeah, the old guy, let's fucking have fun with him. It's like funny. It's funny to be around that. Me, it's just creepy. I just look like I'm trying to find a high school prom date because I missed it in 2008. I'm trying to relive my past a little bit, you know? If you see guys my age in clubs, like where the median age is what, 22? Like where like if a 22-year-old is like, hey, it's getting a little young in here, and you're in there, you better be celebrating a divorce. You know, you're just so out of touch with what's going on out there that you heard that the good times are to be had at this place, this establishment. So you loaded up the guns. You had a few too many to drink that night, and you didn't want to sit at the old lonely hotel bar that you usually do, you know? Bellied up at the bar at a Canadian brew house. That seems to be the place where old guys like sitting nowadays. Canadian brew houses until about 10 p.m. Once they've dummied a few tankards of Coors Light, then it's time to waltz the boots back home. You know? The responsibility of you young chaps too is rather concerning, you know? How do you learn when you're not willing to make mistakes? That's what pissed me off when I heard this. I was walking by these 3 kids, and they're nattering back and forth with one another, and they're talking about, well, Jake is just going to get himself unresponsibly drunk. One of them said that to his friend. Confidently, too, I may add. And that irritated me as I'm walking by. It irritated me. And it's like, Jesus Christ, what are you guys doing? You're young. You're supposed to be doing that type of shit. Get unresponsibly drunk, make mistakes, waltz around in the booze blues in regret of like what you did that night because you have no idea and people are having to tell you. You gotta live through that. He's getting unresponsibly drunk, he says to his friend. I wanted to stop and shake these kids and be like, listen, you want to know what's down the road? Look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. Do I look ecstatic? Do I look like I'm having fun? Do I look like I have a good time going down and paying taxes? Do I look like there is worry? Do you think these bags under my eyes are just because I'm having fun? No. Enjoy this. Unresponsibly drunk is the funnest form of drunk you could ever be in. Mark my words. There is nothing I loved more than completely flatlining myself, blurring my vision to the point that everything looked like I was trying to squint through a swollen eye, you know? Like it just was a haze. And then trying to, there's no more fun. That's not making sense. Try to have a better time than in the morning trying to uncover your own Scooby-Doo mystery of mistakes. You will not have a better time. And I'm being like very I'm being very honest here. There was nothing more. Do you remember those days when you used to live in a fucking shit shack with 3, maybe 4 other gentlemen so you could drop the rent down? The 4 of you all live together, best buds, right out of high school. Maybe you moved away for college. You meet these guys. You met in a dorm room second year. Now that you're living in a house, or you finally moved out. You and 2 of your best buds. Maybe one of you bought a house. The other's renting a room. You're having a good time. When the weekend would hit, you two would sit there, look at each other, and it was like that. It's like those scenes before every sports movie when the team goes into, they're at halftime, and before going into the second half, or maybe it's third period, whatever sport you're envisioning in your head. And the coach comes in and there's a motivational speech happening, right? And there's always a little cut scene in there, right? Where usually the weakest link or the one that creates the most problems on the team, he and the captain of the team, they kind of lock eyes and they nod, right? They nod. That's 5:30 on every Friday living with your buddies. You just look at, you know that one of you is an asshole. One of you is a deviant cocksucker, right? One of you is going to cause issues inside of this house. The other is very good on piecing, the relationship back together. And you two look at each other at 5:35, work boots are off, you know that the shower's next, and there's 48 Keystone Lights sitting in the fridge or whatever cheap beer that you kids are dummy in these days. And you just look at each other, you nod. No words are needed. You understand the situation. We're going out. And we're going out hard. We're going to win ourselves a championship tonight. Every Friday, Saturday night is a championship game. And that's how you need to play it. Not this fucking, I can't believe he's getting unresponsibly drunk. Oh, I just wanted to take that kid and slap the shit out of him. Slap the shit out of him. I'm like, you remember when, like Billy Madison, I can't wait till I go to high school. Remember when he says that? And he's like, don't ever say that again. Don't ever say that again. That's my Adam Sandler voice. Oh, don't ever say that you want to go to high school ever again. Right? You remember that? I wanted to do that to him. Listen, pal, if that's your biggest problem right now, unresponsibly drunk, I hate to see you in the future. Enjoy this, okay? There is a long list of problems, and right now, my list is shorter than those that have children, have been divorced. I got buddies that are, divorced, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, right? Single dad trying to make ends meet. You gotta fucking make sure this one gets to hockey at 4 and then the daughter has dance at 4:45. Like, holy Christ, I can't even imagine it. And you work till 5. Figure that out. So maybe enjoy the unresponsibly drunk, is all I'm saying. That's my word of advice. Halloween weekend. Which brings us into our first article of the day. Isn't that great? Unresponsive. Sickens me. These fucking children. All right. We'll get this queued up again. So, the headline for those that are listening is from Global News. Teen faces attempt to commit murder charge after shooting at a Nova Scotia party, by Carla Rennick with Global News, one of my favorite news organizations that is not funded by the Canadian government. I found that out on Twitter today. Isn't that nice? I have a tough time believing that, but let's get into this. I believe this is the video portion of it. Let's get into this.
Is Global News Morning.
Welcome along. Tuesday, November 1st. It's going to take me a couple of hours to get used to saying that, Elise. November on your calendars of 2022. As we say, good morning. Welcome along to Global News Morning, off and rolling dark and early with Paul and Elise. How you doing?
Good. Yes. A few more cups of coffee before the November kicks in. I was sending an email last night, and of course I sent it off October. Meet us on October 3rd.
This is news.
November 3rd. But yes, we're into November.
Get
so
to
of
the
course,
story.
Coffees are on.
That's
Remembrance Day is top of mind, and we'll be chatting a lot about Remembrance Day and post in Bedford last night.
I got to tell you, my heart is full and my belly is full as well. The kids just had a fantastic night last night. It was magical in our neighborhood. The weather was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I was actually staying.
This is what you consume on the news. Isn't morning news is it's It's like a pilled out mother that doesn't want to accept reality, that the house is crumbling behind her, right? It's a family that has stress cracks in it, right? That's what it is. And at any moment it could collapse. It could just collapse in front of it. Morning television is so difficult to watch, right? You're knocking the shit out of your eyes. It's built for old people is what it is. Just so like they can enjoy their last days on earth happily. These guys wake up, well, it was a great night last night. And I thought, you're supposed to be telling me about the shooting. Instead, we're getting it's cold and dark this morning. All right, we'll get into it. That's what they had to do, okay? See, I'm going to K-fab this a little bit. See, this is what they had to do. A headline like that, teen faces attempt to commit murder charge after shooting at a Nova Scotia party. Let's hit them with the morning news right after, so that way we can keep the mood light while they get into reading this. We want to remind you that us at Global are having a good time, even though your neighborhood is being shot up. RCMP say they have charged a teenager with an attempt to commit murder after a shooting at a party in Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. On Sunday, police said a 17-year-old boy was arrested after two teens were shot at on Sagmore Court, where about 20 to 30 people were gathered outside at around 12:40 in the morning. Two 15-year-olds suffered non-threatening injuries. Police said in a Tuesday release that one victim had an apparent gunshot wound and was taken to hospital, while the other was treated at the scene and unreleased. The suspect was arrested around 2 a.m. the same morning. Investigators have since learned that the shooting occurred over an argument the three youths were having, read the release. The 17-year-old is facing 10 charges related to firearms assault and an attempt to commit murder. He is set to appear in Halifax Provincial Court on November 3rd. Jesus, I could be a panel reporter, couldn't I? See, the reason I bring this up, right? Now, if this kid wanted to get away with a few murders and wanted to get away with a little bit more, it was Halloween weekend. It was right there in front of him, right? Now, I don't condone of any shooting of any sort. I'm not saying that. But we've learned in the past that the East Coast Police Force, whether it's RCMP or any other policing institutions, aren't so swift if you're dressed up like one of them.
Come on, man.
I know, Boosie. Listen, 12:40. There was 20 to 30 people gathered outside at 12:40 a.m. and arrested around 2 a.m. Okay, so roughly an hour and 20 minutes after the shooting occurred, the Nova Scotia police had this young boy in custody. Gabriel Wortman, on the other hand, went on what? A fucking 7-day rampage? What did he go on? A 7-day rampage? So what I'm seeing here is this. Now, first off, that young gentleman has a horrible shot. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not condoning of any sort of violence towards one another, but like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Take an ass kick. What happened to street fights? Do we have to go to like the whole next level? What happened to street fights? Do they exist? Halloween weekend used to be the best weekend for street fights, I may add. While we're on it, it's a Halloween weekend episode. Halloween weekend used to be the most phenomenal. You know what I used to do is back when I was training, and I had fights on the rise. Like if I had a fight in November, I knew that I couldn't go out on Halloween because that's irresponsible, right? I took my training very serious when I was a young lad. So what I would do is I would tell my friends that, hey, don't worry about it. Go out, have a good time. Let me know when you want to be picked up. I will be there. to take you guys home. And what I would do is I wouldn't go home. What I'd do is I'd go to the gas station. I'd get myself a water, maybe some snacks, something to eat. I would park my vehicle so that way I'd had a street view. This all took place in Lethbridge, and I'll explain. It was like a street of bars where all the university and college students would go. And a very popular street. You know, there was an over 21 club. The strip club was there. There was a country bar and a dance club. And so this is where all of us would flock every Friday, Saturday. But Halloween weekend was extra special because of the fights. See, I would watch Super Mario fight a man dressed as Marilyn Monroe. I watched a brawl one time, and this is one of my favorites. It was 2 out of the 4 Ninja Turtles, I believe, Donatello and Raphael, teamed up with a Batman, and there was another superhero involved. You know, low-end costumes. These guys didn't put no effort into it. Just went to Walmart, threw on like the fucking handmade, or not the mass-produced costumes that they shovel out to people. Versus one guy was dressed as a rodeo clown. Another was dressed as, I believe it was like one of the aliens in the claw machine of Toy Story. And then there was somebody else, but this is a 3-on-3 brawl that took place. Okay. All dressed up. Now, this isn't a time for, you know, this is a wonderful time. I retract my first statement. A wonderful time to witness this type of behavior, you know? No other time of year you're going to be able to soak in that kind of entertainment in front of your eyes. So I would park my vehicle so I could get a whole street view, and I'd sit back, relax, and I'd watch some of the funniest fights that would take place. Now these young kids, I don't know what happened. What happened to just fist fights? Fist fights used to be like a fun form of release, you know? You'd have a few too many Bud Light Limes, those were popular, or Coors Light iced teas. We always liked those. Those were a very nice, smooth drink, you know, nice beer. It was a great beer. You'd pump a few of those into you, and then you either tried to find some young lady that would lend her warmth, if you know what I mean. Lend her inner warmth to you for an evening of romanticizing about what a future together would look like, right? Only for the alcohol to wear off and you understanding that was only lust, not love. And your young male underdeveloped brain would then move on and disassociate I guess it would be you got your short amount of fulfillment of sexual pleasure for the evening. And if that didn't take place, you would then find another male in the crowd. It's like an animal kingdom out there. And you'd fist fight for fun, for dominance, you know? You'd fight for the sport, the love of the game. Now we're grabbing a... Jesus Christ. I mean, fuck me. If you're gonna go to this extent. Now, I'm not a fan of people taking one another's lives, but like, come on. What are you doing? If you would have just like took it, like, you know, either gave or took an ass kicking, then you're sitting here with what? Fucking 12 charges? 10 charges at 17 because of a argument. Now, whatever the argument is, I don't think it needs to be to the point of like going and grabbing a fucking rifle. First off, a rifle that sounds like you don't even know how to fucking use. Jesus. What an asshole. What a little asshole. And fucking, well, now we know that when a shooter's on the loose, it should take the police about an hour and 20 minutes to get them into custody. At least we know that now. At least we know that the Nova Scotia fucking RCMP have learned their lesson. That's good to know. They learned their lesson finally. A lot of lessons to be learned with this article right here. You know, gun violence, not so tough. It's not, you know, it may be in the 90s when it really like took off, right? When the music and in the culture kind of formed around that LA gang violence, the New York violence, and rappers really took a stronghold on telling their stories across rap albums. And it excited the brain. You were listening to stories to be told. Now we're just glamorizing the fact that you can just shoot a weapon. These people like lived through war zones, right? And now we have young assholes. I won't assume his race. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to. I would never do that on this show. Time for a little ad read. DangerCatShop.com for all your Danger Cats needs. That's right. Tickets available for all the upcoming dates mentioned earlier in the episode. You can head to DangerCatShop.com and grab your tickets today for any live performances from the Three Musketeers. And for merch, hoodies and t-shirts currently on the store. We are working extra hard here to bring in some other products. And it'll be exciting. We're reviving the brand. Isn't that nice? DangerCatShop.com / use the promo code podcast69 to get 15% off any merch orders today. Patreon.com / DangerCat69. Roast Battles Volume 7 now available for your viewing pleasure. So be sure to check out that. Patreon.com / DangerCat69. And you'll have an exclusive episode of the Uncle Hack podcast waiting for you at the end of this episode. Isn't that nice? 2 episodes in one day. Wow. Isn't that great? 2 hours of content in one day from this asshole in audio and video format. So there you go. You get an extra exclusive podcast every week. And if you become a Danger Dong Patreon producer, your name will be in the end credits on the video portion that airs on YouTube. Plus, if you look down below, all those fine people in the description box are Danger Dong producers of the show. That's right. They're in the highest tier of the Patreon. Don't you feel guilty for not supporting me like those people? Don't you? Don't you want to give me your money? Don't you want me to spend it irresponsibly in nightclubs, in strip clubs all across the planet? Can't believe you wouldn't want that. Anyways, back to the episode. I would never do that on this show. Okay? But if I was to guess, suburban white kid, that's my guess. That would be my guess. Okay? If I'm just throwing it out there. A suburban white kid that has anger issues and has no ability to like control his emotions in the moment. And, you know, even in the time of like going to grab a weapon and then bring the weapon, you know, usually in that moment, like depending on the time frame, if it takes 20 minutes to go and grab a rifle, usually like you could cool off by then. But I'm going to say that there's some issues. Maybe the mom was popping pills. I don't know. During the pregnancy, maybe she drank a little bit, smoked a little, you know, there's problems. There's problems there. But what happened to a good old fist fight? Are those done? Nobody just wants to have a little fisticuffs in the street no more. That used to be the best part of the bar. Sometimes you just, like I said, I would pull up just to witness some of these fights. Which brings us to our next article. Which we're going to talk about. See, if we're going coast to coast here. Richmond RCMP warned public after woman sexually assaulted near Abercrombie Drive. Which, this is why I wanted to bring this one up. It's a good segue piece right there. Yeah, I watched that documentary on the weekend. The old lady brought it up and was like, we should watch this. It's Vancouver is Dying. Okay. Great piece. Aaron Gunn, I believe, is the producer of the film. And he goes into just the hell side of Vancouver and what it's turning into. It's actually fucking insane. It's insane. The crime has increased tremendously, and that's not even in the downtown core. It's in now it's spilled over into suburbs, and then now this is where it becomes a very big issue. People don't like to pay a lot of money to be away from the crime for the crime to just all of a sudden start showing up at their front door, literally, and even back door. A lot of these places are getting broken into, vehicles being stolen, their properties being stolen, and the nice thing is you can just buy it back on the street. I wonder if anybody's bought back any of their stuff just for the sake of it, for no confrontation, or, I just would like that back. Can I buy that? Businesses are taking a hit. They're allowing camping on the street. It is a fucking disaster is what it is. And this documentary dives into it. Now, there is some funny factors about it. We talked about this earlier, is the earlier on the podcast a few episodes ago, I believe 10 or 15, about the decriminalization of drugs in BC. Right. And everybody wants an organization out there. Everybody has an organization that goes nowhere. It's just we're trying to spread awareness. I think there's enough awareness about how big of a shithole the city is, right? I think the awareness of how bad Vancouver truly is out there. We understand. We're talking about it right now. And I live fucking 10 hours, 15 hours away from the city, okay? People all across the country understand how bad the situation is in Vancouver. High-priced rent. So not only are you paying high-priced rent, but you as a female, right, you get this. You can be sexually assaulted, and they just warn you to be hey, warn the public. Just tell them to hey, maybe don't take the bus for a little while. We'll let this relax. Don't take the bus for a couple weeks. We'll sort this out. One stat I found quite interesting. It was 42 individuals were the cause of, I think, 4,200 or 6,200 incidents. 40 individuals, 6,200 incidents. And they're just yeah, it's a rinse, repeat, in the door, out the door. Don't even book them. Just, yeah, he's got some issues. Let him back out there. Fuck he. So what? He likes to show his cock in a playground. What do you want us to do about it? Their attitude towards it is quite hilarious. It is quite funny. I know it's at the detriment of people's safety, but it is just what do you want me to do about it? Huh? What do you want me to do about it, Jack? Some of these people just like showing their cocks in playgrounds and groping women in subway stations. What do you want me to do about it? Huh? It's not my problem. Let's get into the article, though. We'll talk a little bit, but I highly recommend checking out that documentary. It's quite interesting. If you are Canadian, even if you're American, just so you can see, there's cities, there's sanctuaries, or sanctuaries. What the fuck am I talking about? Cities, you get into the Portlands. There was that autonomous zone that took place in, was it Portland? I thought it was was it in Oregon? I thought it was in Washington State for some reason, but yeah, that autonomous zone. This is that with fentanyl up here. It's it is full blown anarchy. They do and they do as they please. There's just people nodding off wherever. I guess a lot of American cities are starting to become that. Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Vancouver would be similar. East Hastings is our Skid Row. And it is fucking terrifying. You wouldn't catch me dead down there. You'd probably catch me dead down there. Richmond police have issued a warning to the public. Really fucking nailing it, huh? Richmond police have issued a warning to the public after a woman allegedly was sexually assaulted at a bus stop near Abercrombie Drive. Just after 6 a.m. on October 29th, Richmond RCMP said it was contacted by a woman who said a man who she did not know approached her and groped her. As the man passed by her, the suspect groped the victim, said BC RCMP Sergeant Chris Mansell. The victim screamed at the man, who then ran eastbound to the bus stop on the number 3 road without looking back. The incident took place near the 7600 block of Abercrombie Drive. Police described the suspect as a male around 30 years old with a slim build and shortly curly blonde hair. He was clean shaven and wearing a black half zipper jacket with black shiny pants. Fucking Michael Jackson. It's Caucasian Michael Jackson. There were 7 zippers on his jacket. The victim was unhurt by the terrifying incident and did the right thing by calling the police immediately. What else was she supposed to do? What else is she supposed to do? Shoot the man? Now I'm all for it. See, this is where I contradict myself. Before, I don't condone of anybody shooting. It's like, why don't we just fight? But in this situation, maybe a few ladies just got to shoot some fellas, right? That's to me like walking around just like groping somebody. Not correct. Shooting somebody, also not correct. But maybe in this situation, you got to be a little terrified. Plus, like if say you are a sexually assaulter, right? Don't the hellfire, the hellscape that's taking place in Vancouver. It's got to be like, this is getting boring. I'm not really into this anymore. It's not as fun as it used to be. Women used to be scared. Like more. Now they just like scream, they run away. Ugh. Don't you want to up the stakes a little? Give the ladies handguns. Handguns and tasers. And then we'll see like, there we go. The little more excitement. It's excitement on both sides. It's like she gets to defend herself. And then this asshole then has to the stakes are upped. The stakes are upped. Now, I'm probably not in the right for talking about something like this, and it's a little insane that I even suggest this. I understand that, but I'm just saying. And it's probably immorally incorrect for me to even, throw that out there as it should be an idea. But when the police are just like, she did the right thing. She called us, and we notified the public. What more do you want me to do? I don't know. Good question. What more, I don't know. Your job. Why would you want to do that? I get it. A lot of us are just like, oh, God. I don't want to get up and go and do whatever the fuck. I don't want to tie my boots up, hop into that. I don't want to warm my truck for 20 minutes when gas is at $1.50 a fucking liter, only to go somewhere there I'm underpaid and I hate it. The public may see more officers in the area for the next few days as the Richmond RCMP will be making patrols hoping to locate the suspect. That's all it took was to get a few more out there. Anyone with possible information or dash camera footage from the area at the time of the incident is asked to contact Richmond RCMP. Holy Christ, here we go. Suspect in Vancouver apartment attack charged with other assaults. Let's take a look at this. Why don't we?
Jamais j'aurais pu m'imaginer pouvoir
That's enough.
en compagnie de ma fille.
French with a lisp, double part.
C'est le fun, hein?
That's enough.
Seconds after the man on your screen walked out of frame, witnesses say he assaulted an unsuspecting 29-year-old woman, sucker punched while walking downtown in yet another unprovoked attack on Wednesday evening.
He leaned in and just one-punched a random lady, square in the eye socket. Really hurt her pretty badly.
This local business owner says his employees witnessed the assaults and its aftermath. Vancouver police are still searching for the suspect whose face was partially covered.
They had a decent look at the back of him, not the front. Not too much identifying other than a logo on the back of his hoodie.
And the multiple witnesses who saw him, including another woman who noticed the suspect approaching and hid.
She saw the suspect walking towards her on the sidewalk, so she backed off, a little bit nervous, so she watches him go by. She steps back out on the sidewalk just in time to see the suspect close his fist and sucker punch the victim.
Almost 2 weeks ago, another vicious assault on another woman in her 20s was caught on camera. The accused, Bryce Michael Flores Bevington, facing charges in that case. And now, on Thursday, the 19-year-old was rearrested and charged with 2 counts of sexual assault in connection to 2 consecutive incidents in July.
Wow.
The first, an alleged groping on the escalators at the Granville SkyTrain station the evening of July 6th, followed by the sexual assault of a woman in her 30s less than 24 hours later on West Broadway and Ash Street.
I feel vulnerable, and I notice that this area has got an influx of people, you know, with serious mental health issues.
You start to worry about your safety, yeah, for sure. And you're wondering, okay, is that person following me now because they're angry?
Okay. Now they have gay Harry Potter with bleach blonde hair being like, is it my safety? They said women. Women are being attacked. Now I know. This is where things get dangerous for me, okay? This is where I lose the opportunity to ever perform on a Just for Laughs stage or get a CBC gem because somebody will dig a little too deep into what I say on the internet. But you know what, my friend? You know what? I'll skip this part. I'll skip this part for this second. I'll throw an invitation to the ladies of Vancouver. Okay, the invitation is out there. Here in Alberta, you know, us gentlemen, most of us, like I was talking about earlier, now you didn't hear about there's shootings that happen all across Canada, right? But I'm going to throw this invitation out there. Ladies, if you're feeling a little unsafe, rural Canada is the best place for you. Now I understand that there's no sense of fashion that takes place there. There's no sense of, gender studies. These gentlemen are kind of got old guard mentality, okay, which could be good in this circumstance of what's taking place in Vancouver and in other places in Canada, as we've seen. A 17-year-old boy. Now, here's the thing. I grew up in a small town, right? So I've got some knowledge based upon my upbringing and the gentlemen that I've been around. Now, if a man had witnessed you be struck in the street, now this is what, right here behind me, gay Harry Potter, right? The Hogwarts draguate. There we go, draguate. That's kind of funny. Thank you. My own self-produced laugh. The Hogwarts graduate that's behind me that's saying that I'm even unsafe. See, this is where rural Canada really can be a place of safety. Because if any gentleman, right? If any gentleman in a small town, even in a place like Tabor, Alberta, right? A place like Tabor, Alberta, if you were struck in public, those gentlemen are looking to release that anger all day long. If they seen that, they know more, like that's morally that's incorrect. They know that. They understand that. You're not supposed to hit a lady, only in the comfort of your own home. Old school, right? Old guard mentality. But to witness a man be beating a woman in public, this would give them the opportunity that they dream inside their head of this maniac behavior taking place in front of their eyes, to give them an opportunity to release their frustrations, and they can beat the shit out of this human being and then be celebrated as a hero, even though it's a lot of selfish reasons, you know, a lot of pent up anger. You know, you're possibly, maybe your son has came out as trans and you can't handle it, and you're just like, you know, you can't fucking deal with it no more. And I'm not saying that this takes place. I'm just using a broad idea. Something happened at home, you know, work isn't going in, the economy's going to shit, the oil patch is going under, you're possibly going to lose your job, you got to find another source of income, a lot of problems. exist in these small towns. So rural Canada could be a viable option for you. You know, you can still be a blogger in those towns. You know, you don't have to be in these big cities just kind of, where am I going with this? That have been taken over by dryaddicts and encampments. Instead, camping in a small town involves you loading up a tent, putting it in the pickup truck, and heading to the mountains. And I'll say 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be in the comfort of a nice trailer, you know, a nice fifth wheel attached to so then you can still watch, you know, your favorite shows. You'll still have internet access to blog from. You'll have this gentleman that may not be a vegan, but he does cook a goddamn great steak over an open fire, which, you know, you could have this gentleman right here who will not defend you, or you could have an angry blue collar, salt of the earth, grumpy individual that will take any opportunity to beat the shit out of any other male on the planet given to him. You know, it could be even just a word. A word could set them off. You called my old lady a cunt.
We get a lot of people who are screaming down the sidewalk, and you don't want to be crossing paths with them.
Flores Bevington, who appeared in court late Thursday, will remain in custody until another hearing on Friday morning. Sarah McDonald, Global News.
All right. Eddie Spaghetti. A lot of sex offenders out there in British Columbia. So if you're feeling a little unsafe, ladies of Vancouver, now I understand that, you know, there's this association of racism attached to Alberta. There's this complete disconnect with, you know, the progressive narrative that's being pushed upon us. And that's all right, because guess what? You will be safe, you know? What would you rather hear? Okay, let me ask you this. What would you rather hear? Would you rather hear mean words or catch a left hook from right field as you're walking to get an espresso from Starbucks downtown Vancouver? Let me ask you that. What would you rather have? Would you rather have somebody that just maybe says some maybe incorrect jokes, you know, maybe finds a little bit of humor in stereotypes? Or would you like a meth addict to clothesline you with a hot coffee in your hand? Those are the questions you got to ask yourself. Those are the real questions. And that's how we leave that article. Let's get into our fan. It is that time. Okay? It is that time. Yes, ma'am. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Our favorite time of the day. The fan question. Usually, let's bring that down just a little bit. Usually, we love hate mail, right? We got hate mail. We get it from all over. Now, you can release your frustrations on this show by just writing a little email to unclehack@dangercats.tv. Get whatever you need off your chest. I will say it word for word, because these are your words, not mine. And I'm not here to censor anybody. I'm not here to, you know, misquote you in any way. I'm not looking to do that. In fact, I'm looking to see what people are really feeling out there, what they really think, right? What the news isn't doing. I do on this show, right? And with that being said, today we have 2 fan questions, which we're going to get into right now. unclehack@dangercats.tv. All right. Good day. All right. Our first fan question. Thank you, sir, for doing what you do and providing hours of entertainment to myself and many other dumb fucks. To this day, my favorite show has to be the Liquor Bottle House Decor. That being said, I feel like there needs to be a second chapter because you left far too much drink in the cup. Ah, I like that. Me being a mid-30s blue-collar fella, I listened to this show and threw the next empty up on top of the kitchen cabinet just for the memories. I like that. Nostalgia. I really need to know something, though. It goes without saying that I am the black sheep of the family, but what say we jump 30? Okay, what the fuck let's say you be, okay, I don't know what he's trying to say. I'm going to just say it. What say we jump 30 years to the future? We have some tough battles. We win a few more than we lose. And the day finally comes that you are able to buy the house. My parents finally made it to the house level. The house happens to have a goddamn wine cellar, which has fancy stone walls, a fucking chandelier, and racks to store a 1,300 bottle collection. Well done. Seeing as how these raging alcoholics will likely never be able to stock 1,300 bottles of anything, they started putting empties on the old shelf. About a year into their endeavor, they came to visit me and noticed my sun-faded bottle of Jack doing time on the top of the kitchen cabinet. Then they continued to call me out for living like a child with an empty bottle. So where's the fucking line? What level of douche does one have to achieve to validate an empty bottle display? Do we go full circle? Is the dusty bottle a lower class and a higher class flex? Are the simps in the middle class just faking it till they make it to a place where it's empties, where empties are classy? I know we all need therapy, but for fuck's sakes, what say you? What do you say? Okay, truly not yours, the painted vegetable. This is very, very intricate. I like this. I like this a lot. See, there is a disconnect, okay? It's almost like there's a hierarchy of types of alcohol that you consume, right? There's a hierarchy system based upon what you drink, and I don't like that. In fact, I despise that. There should not be, it should be a level playing class. You can look at this as politics even, you know? Are the wine drinkers the uptight liberals and the Jack drinkers are a little bit of the obnoxious QAnon conservatives that believe that there's an underground war being fought with lizard people? I don't know. That's just the comparison that came to brain right out of the gate. But I do find it rather almost arrogant on their behalf that they have what? They started putting empties on the old shelf on a 1,300 bottle rack, 1,300 bottles of empty wine, as this is supposed to level them up because they're drinking a nice Pinot Grigio. What? Because they decide that they want to enjoy a nice Chardonnay over a stiff Jack with 3 cubed ice. 3 cubed ice. That was dumb. What level of douche? I think that this is projection on their behalf of like trying to make your alcoholism the problem rather than theirs. I think this is deeper than just what type of bottles are on the shelf. I think them coming over and not appreciating your display opposed to sitting back and adding to theirs is a little bit of, it's almost like there's a massive disconnect on the appreciation for the same thing that you appreciate, and that's consuming alcohol. That's terrible that your parents would do such a thing to their child, as you are following in their footsteps in the same hobbies that they have. But it's not. See, it's almost like playing field hockey and ice hockey, or roller hockey and ice hockey. You know, they're not the same. They're the same kind of sport, just kind of different elements in there. Rather than ice and blades, you have cement and roller blades, right? So I think that this shouldn't fall upon your shoulders. This should fall more on your parents' shoulders. And they should be the ones attempting to change, or at least take a step back and see it for what it is. The perspective is everything on this. And I don't think that I think there shouldn't be a class system when it comes to alcohol. You know, some of us enjoy quantity over quality. Some of us enjoy a nice scotch, an aged scotch. It doesn't matter what you drink. It's how you drink it and how you are, you know, it's how you are drunk. Are you an enjoyable drunk? Are you a miserable drunk? Instead, your parents are overlooking the fact that, like I said, that you both share the same hobby. Now it's almost as if, when somebody comes across money, and then they start to flaunt it, they throw it in your face a little bit more. They start to get a little bit arrogant now because they're able to stock 1,300 bottles of their accomplishments and present it to people as like, look at 1,300 bottles of wine have went down my wife and my gut and my dumb yap have went down and we consumed it together. Now, because maybe only you can display several bottles instead of 1,300 bottles, this is them attempting to flex, and maybe this is a way of them showing you to maybe motivate yourself to get to that 1,300 bottle level. You know, maybe they're able to sit back and appreciate your accomplishments and they expect more out of you. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not so much they're looking down upon you. They just expected more out of you. They got to that level and they expect you to be at that level to be able to display 1,300 bottles of empty liquor to those that come and visit your humble abode. Maybe that is what they're attempting to teach you. But they're, as we know, a lot of people went through a lot of that difficult, tough love kind of era of upbringing. So maybe this is their form. This is them trying to talk to you without actually having to talk to you. So maybe that has a lot to do with it. But I do think that, at what point does the empty bottle come down and you start fresh? Maybe it's time to start fresh. Maybe this is a little bit for you. Maybe it's time that you get a little cabinet of some sort. Maybe one of those cabinets that is designed for fine china, and you start putting in high-class bottles in there, Maybe you dummy a fucking 300-year-old scotch. Cost you an arm and a leg to get, but God damn it, did it taste good? And you want to display that now, right? You want to throw that in the fine china. A lot to unpack here. But I think you're on the right path. I think your way of thinking of dissecting the issue and taking it to the place that it needs to be is completely fair. I don't think that you're doing anything wrong. In fact, I think you're doing the right thing by writing into the show and having me think about this for you. Is a dusty bottle a lower class? I think a dusty bottle represents time. It represents growth, right? I think by that or uncleanliness, however you want to view it, and a high-class flex, is the dusty bottle a lower class and a high-class flex? It could possibly be that, Because I imagine that. Nobody's taking 1,300 bottles off, dusting them off, and then putting them back on the shelf just to display for other assholes. I don't see that happening, but could it possibly be? We don't know. Are the simps in the middle class faking it till they make it to a place where empties are classy? I think so. I think deep down, a lot of us want to display how much we drink, how much we consume, whether it be the fancy ways that you crush cans. Sometimes you go to a guy's place and he's got a fancy way to crush cans, and then you can fit more in the bag. So when he takes it to the liquor depot, it's like, look at all this nice thing that I've done. I've been able to fit more cans into this. There's always little subtle ways of showing how much we appreciate the empty liquor bottle, and then whether it's crushing it into its lowest form so that way we can take it in for more liquor, right? Because nobody, Who takes in the bottles and then pockets the money? Nobody. Usually it's like, we'll take in the bottle money and get a flat of beer. You know, we got a party on the weekend. Let's take in the bottles, get a flat of beer. Nobody takes in the fucking bottles to save the money, right? Unless you're homeless. That's the only time. And even then, those guys are taking in the bottles to maybe get a different substance at times. Maybe a bite to eat. But we don't know that. That's me assuming. I think you're on the right path. I think that keeping that empty bottle of Jack dusty on the top of the cabinet is the right move. I think you should look at that as a symbol of motivation. You should look at it as a symbol of where you've grown into or the place that you're in right now. You should look at it as a symbol that represents of where you want to go, you know, after seeing what your parents have done. Let this be a representation of your motivation, of your character, of your build, right? You will get to where you need to be. You want the 1,300 bottle wine rack? You got to get out there and you got to earn it. You got to earn that, okay? It's not just given to you, but it does. It's Dad finally comes, and the day finally comes that you're able to buy the house. My parents finally made it to the house level. The house happens to have a goddamn wine cellar. So the parents finally bought a house, and they're kind of looking down upon you. That's what it seems like. A fucking chandelier. God damn. Seeing as how these raging alcoholics will likely never be able to stock 1,300 bottles of anything, they started putting empties on the old shelf. About a year into their endeavor, they came to visit me and noticed my sun-faded bottle of Jack doing time on the top of they continued to call me out for living like a child with an empty bottle. I think that's projection of them wanting to live similar to how you live. They want the empty bottle of Jack, but it can't fit in a wine. If I'm thinking about this right, those like wine bottle cellars that only can fit a wine, they want the empty bottles of Jack in there, but they can't fit. And that comes with renovations. And do you want to renovate a 1,300 bottle wine rack? No, nobody does. Nobody does. So I think you're on the right path. I think that you shouldn't let this bother you by any means. By any means. I just want to say thank you for writing that in. That was very kind of you to allow me to look into your life and see these types of issues that you're working with. Sorry, we got another fan question here. You know, we're doing a twofer. We're going a little long today. That's okay. You know, there's issues that we need to tackle. All right. A lot of you young chaps seem to, young and old, middle-aged. Hey, Uncle. First off, love the podcast. Keep up the good work. Got a fan question for you, and I feel like you'd be the one to give me a dude's perspective. Had a bit of a fiasco with a buddy of mine. He works as an apprentice and had to go out of town for school, and in that time, he broke up with his girlfriend of not that long. Her sister is a mutual friend of ours, and she went on a trip and asked me to house sit for her while she was gone. Buddy's ex lives with her sister, so I saw her every day. One night, we got some drinks in us, and long story short, I think you can guess what happened. They played Jenga. She's my buddy's ex, so I didn't think too much of it. But Buddy ended up finding out, and he's furious with me about it. Am I a complete piece of shit for what happened, or is he overreacting a bit? Okay, first off, why are you house sitting when somebody already lives there? How old is this girl? Are you both pedophiles? What is going on here? So he goes away, and in that time, he broke up with his girlfriend of not that long. Okay, so they weren't together that long? Okay. So that almost justifies you fucking her? Okay. I see where you're trying to go with this. He didn't even fucking, they were just kind of fucking for like, I don't know, 5 years. Of not that long. It wasn't even that long. Sure, they were only together for like 5 years. I don't know. They were on the doorstep of possibly getting married, but then like, some shit happened, right? They weren't even together that long. It was like 10 years and 5 of it was married. Her sister is a mutual friend of ours and she went on a trip. So this is fucking Buddy's ex lives with her sister. So everybody's friends with her sister. She lives with her sister, but the sister asked you to come and house sit while the sister still lives there. That part confuses the shit out of me. Why is this young lady that lives with them of age? That is my first question. Second question, how irresponsible is the young lady that you needed to come over and check on the house sit? So you stayed at the house while she was gone, even though her sister lives there? This isn't making much sense. So I didn't think too much of it, but okay. So Buddy's ex lives with her. So I saw her every day. One night we got some drinks on us. Long story short, I think you can guess what happened. She kissed where I piss. She's my buddy's ex, so I didn't think too much of it, but Buddy ended up finding out and he's furious with me about it. Am I a complete piece of shit for what happened, or is he overreacting? Okay, first off, you're both in the wrong, all right? Now, I'm going to assume that this all takes place in, like we were talking about earlier, rural Canada, because we individuals from, rural areas of the country. This could also be a rural America for all we know, but because I like to keep these completely anonymous. I think that's entirely fair to do so. But I think you're both retarded for once. For one, your buddy, whatever. It's an ex. It's a little bit of there's a little bit of distrust. Because it's like, the moment now your buddy's going to view you as like the moment that you break up or that he breaks up with any girls, that you're going to be the old Slytherin fucking weasel that comes sniffing around. Oh, you're single again. I hear you fuck good. Why don't we have a few drinks at your sister's place? Which I so happen to be house sitting, even though you're living in and are probably completely capable of taking care of the house. But I'm just here, I'm just here. Oh, shit. But first off, your buddy he has the right to be a little upset at you. You're a bit of a scumbag, you should know a little better. In the moment, I'm going to guess you were blinded by pussy. Okay, that's your first problem. You were blinded by pussy. So while this was all taking place, you weren't taking into consideration of whether this situation is right or wrong. And if you weren't questioning it then, maybe maybe you aren't such a good friend. Is there other things that you aren't good at with your buddies, now this kind of like it erodes trust with your friends, right? It does. Now, I'm not saying I'm an angel. I'm not saying that I'm an angel at all. That I haven't had sex with a buddy's ex, but it also wasn't in a short time manner. There was years and years past to the point where, like, if you would say that name and be like, oh, how's she doing? That question would come up. And liquor was involved, right? Again, it was in a moment of not saying that I'm in the right or wrong. In fact, I would say I'm more in the wrong than right by stating that both of us were inebriated, few drinks. I don't think it was sober. Wouldn't have happened. It was post-funeral. And what am I trying to, at the time, you kind of think to yourself, I'm not doing anything wrong here. I think time has passed. But then the next day, the guilt settles in of like, fuck, I shouldn't have did that. He's my buddy. What am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? How do I address this? You know, is he going to be mad? If the question raises, like, is he going to be pissed that I did this? And yeah, you should probably be like, it's like, come on, man. There's plenty of holes out there. You are in the wrong on this. Especially if, like, fresh off the breakup. You know, mine was like, there was 6-7 years. 6-7 years of difference. Not 6-7 days. And I certainly didn't do it in her sister's house, you know? Jesus Christ. Right where the family fucking eats. Holy shit. I think you know, when you do live in a small town and you break up with somebody, you gotta understand that somebody's gonna be fucking her that you know. Probably right away. Because not too often that women are single in a small town, right? That or it happens behind closed doors and a lot of people don't talk about it, right? There's a lot of cheating, especially in my hometown. Everybody's fucking one another, but nobody wants to talk about it. There's like it's like a anonymous swingers club that everybody knows that we fuck one another here, but nobody knows who's fucking one another, if you know what I mean. So your buddy has to accept the fact that the moment that he broke up with her and left, that somebody's going to be pounding that ass. He should have been a little, you know, this might be wrong for me to say. He should be a little appreciative. It was you instead of like, well, maybe a mortal enemy, right? Okay, at least one of my friends is fucking her. You know, it'd suck if that crackhead up the fucking block, you know, convinced her to give some hole. That would suck. Because that's her rebound. At least the rebound was you, a friend, you know. Get her back on his feet. If he truly loved her, maybe you're so bad in bed, she'll go back to him and be like, Jesus Christ, I'll never want to fuck that idiot again. But, yes, you are a bit of an asshole for not even, Christ. Did he say, first off, dude's out of town for school? And in that time he broke up, was there any like? There's no time frame here. Went on a trip. So while he was out of town too, so you knew he was away, and then there was an opportunity that arose there that you're like, you know, if you were like, fuck it, I don't know, this isn't. That's the problem. Both of you are blinded by pussy. That's the issue here. Both of you just like he's possessive over past relationships, and you just, you know, it presented itself and you had no self-control. Most of us don't. I assume you're young, so that's excusable. You get that scent, and it's like the liquor like enhances that scent. You know the smell. You smell that and you turn into that shark from Finding Nemo. Oh, just one bump. You know? That seems to be like what happens with a lot of young gentlemen. You get blinded by the puss. Blinded by the puss. Got a hard cock in the middle of the night, and my best friend's ex-girlfriend's pussy's looking right. Oh, yeah. So I think you're both in the wrong. He's too possessive, and you are blinded by the scent. Blinded by the scent. Had a few too many drinks. Now she's sucking my dink. Blinded by the scent. But that's what I think. That's a great way to end the episode. Anyways, you know, upcoming shows, dangercatshop.com. Be sure to check out the store. Roast Battles Volume 7 now available on Patreon, patreon.com/dangercat69. If you want to become a Danger Dong of the show, it's a great way to support the show, continue what I'm doing. If you like this podcast, there's an extra one waiting for you on Patreon right now, patreon.com/dangercat69. The exclusive episode is waiting for you to listen to. Do you support this show? Do you like what I do? Certainly doesn't show. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to make you feel guilty for not giving me your money. But anyways, we will see you next week, Thursday at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, the Uncle Hack Podcast. Signing out, everybody.